This is great. We got some photos of a ride that Dallas was on. He's out in the Sacramento area, and he said the weather was foggy and cloudy, but nice. Love that GS. Oh my God, that GS is beautiful. So here's Dallas out in Sacramento, and he's oogling my GS, and I'm here in Rutherford oogling his GS. Now that's an 83, not an 82, but very, very similar. His has the blacked out engine and a lot of modifications. I think definitely more modifications than mine has. And when I'm having a cup of coffee and sitting at the computer in the morning, nothing better than oogling GS's. Now as I'm oogling here, I'm noticing he has some mirror extensions on there. Pretty cool. I've never seen those. Never seen those before, Dallas, and I don't have them on mine. But it seems like my mirrors, maybe they're different mirrors, I don't know. They're plenty far apart. But again, you might have different bars. That might be the reason. No idea. Just noticed it right now. Now, I played this day a little in reverse because I've been coming down to the shop in the morning to see how things have dried up by the heating vent before I even go out to the garage. But this is a great way to start the day. A really good way. Now I know we have counterpoints within counterpoints within counterpoints, but to me, that model and that year motorcycle, it was only 82 and 83. They are among, I think, the most attractive. Of course, it's all in the eye of the beholder. Some people favor other looks. I like that look. And what's sad is Karen and I have been out in California several times, and we've been out west to Vegas and stuff, but always in a minivan. And it looks like there's some really nice back roads there too. But you know, no matter what part of the country you're in, there's beautiful roads everywhere in this country. I've been coast to coast, and there's very few spots in the country don't have some nice riding. But the thing is, you have to be on a motorcycle, not in a minivan. Now I'm looking at the rack on Dallas's bike here. And there was a time when Karen used to ride on the back of the GS when we did quite a bit of riding. And I had a backrest luggage rack that Andy Lee, I got from Andy Lee, who had the exact same bike I had at one time. And so this looks like a totally different unit though, but I don't even know if I still have mine. Now some people like to turn on the news in the morning and discuss politics or find out about which baseball team fell off the wagon. This is a lot better for me. This gets me started in the morning. Now, here's a good example of a nice road. It looks like you do have some real... This is around the Sacramento area, Sacramento, California. Looks like a pretty nice area. Now I can tell by looking at the gloss on the paint here that Dallas takes good care of this bike. Take care of that baby. Because if something happens to it, it's really hard to get another one. Look at the sunset here. Anyway, he said he noticed on our videos we ride up the Eagle's Nest. Here's the Eagle's Nest in Sacramento. Nice sunset. Dances with wolves there. Dances with Dallas. That's pretty cool. Anyway, I really do love starting off a day like this. I just can't tell you how much I enjoy this. And we're going to see our grandson today, and I don't know. You just never know how lucky you are. So Dallas, I want to thank you very much. I've really enjoyed seeing your adventures on the GS, and I wonder how many other people there are still have a GS and still enjoy riding. It's a wonderful machine. I'm going to get out to the garage and get those battery tenders changed. So Dallas, I really enjoy watching videos. People with other motorcycles, especially GS's. I love to start off the day with on a positive note. Listen to what's going by right now. You hear that? Fire engines. We got a big fire in the neighborhood. I don't know what the hell's going on here. But I'm going to have to go check it out. Listen to that. It's amazing. Anyway, I like to start off the day. The pictures really are great. I appreciate all the people that share them and share their little, especially pictures of the olden days. Pictures of their GS's, their restorations, whatever. But for us here, it's still cold, but today's promising to be a really nice sunny day. Probably going to go up over freezing by lunchtime, and hopefully we'll get some painting done today. You can't make this stuff up, believe me. Impossible to make it up. I check out Dallas's pictures. It puts me in a great mood. The battery tenders are all attached. And for the last 10 minutes while I've been out here and going through some other things I have to do in the morning, all I hear are fire engines going down the block. Oh, I hope we don't have something to delay a game penalty here. I don't know. But I hope it's nothing serious. Well, one thing in the morning you never have to worry. The fish are in hibernation. We don't have to feed them for about another 3 months. Here's something new. They're not going to take Treezilla down today. This is unbelievable. But anyway, I do understand. There are more things to it than us. But boy, I can't wait till that comes down. And I mean comes down, not come down on my garage. Just comes down. And I'm sure Mike, our neighbor, is looking forward to having it done too. So, the way it looks this morning, early in the morning, wow. Seeing that the roads in Sacramento make me wish I was in Sacramento right now. It's below freezing, believe it's cold out here. But here in the shop, everything is nice and warm. Oh my God, the stuff's drying up by the heating vent. Our instrument panel should be ready to work on. Oh, just good to get in out of the cold for a while. Now we're coming up on almost 2 months of working on this project, and I guess if you really could look at it any other way, we've gotten an awful lot of stuff done. There's a lot more to this project. In the beginning, you know, I thought, well, it would be maybe a 3-month project, a 4-month. This looks like it's going to be a full 6-month restoration. But there's no other way I know of. There's no way you can compromise any of this when you want to have it, well, the way I want it. And one of the compromises is this dashboard is going to need several sand outs. I can see that. Can't rush it. Can't push it through, you know, just the way it is. We're ready to do our little graphic test, and hopefully not a test. Hopefully it's going to be final graphics. We do have some more parts to buff out. And as always, in fact, we have enough here. We almost have enough that we could shoot some clear today. Those parts are ready for clear. So, but that's the whole idea of leapfrogging, is to always have something. I was happy to hear Ruben McBride say it's working well for him. Well, no matter what you're doing, leapfrogging is a good way to do it. And we're going to start doing it as soon as we have our coffee. Now I'll bet our friend Ruben McBride that moved out to Las Vegas, I wonder if that coffee tastes the same in Las Vegas. Ruben, it's below freezing here. That coffee does taste great. Now the first thing I'm going to do here is with some 600 Indasa sandpaper, I want to see how much of it the primer is going to come off before I start to see any residue of those little textures or whatever they have on there. I've got 2 coats of primer on here already. And anytime you paint plastic, it's an adventure, because if you put scratches, here's the 2 choices. If you don't etch it properly, the paint peels off. And that can happen in anything from one of those plastic car bumpers that I've tried to refinish, and anything, guitars, the engine covers for outboard engines, no matter what they are. If it's plastic, not fiberglass now, if it's plastic and you don't etch it properly, that paint comes off. If you etch it too much and you get sanding scratches, which I know we have on here because I really had to do a lot of grinding with that palm sander, what tends to happen here, we've got to fill any residue of the scratch with prime. So this is a case. This is going to take a lot more time than I originally thought, but it's going to be a focal point of the motorcycle when you're sitting in a seat and whatever, chasing Luciano down. We're going to be looking at a nice shiny dashboard instead of one that was supposed to look like fake carbon fiber. But it looks like it looks like I've got enough primer on here already. Maybe only 2 coats is all I'll need. But in the end, what I want to have is I want this to be perfectly smooth before I put any other paint on. So even if I have to do this 2, 3, 4 times, and there's no shortcut here. There's no, I don't know what would be an alternative. Plastic parts are just very difficult to paint. And usually that first coat of primer, what happens, and most people don't know what's going to happen, they panic, the paint dries, it looks like it has hair on it. That's all I can describe it that way. And then you think, oh, I've lost my classic part. And the best one I can ever remember is when the Honda 750 first came out. We were painting, and when I had friends that had the 750 and my own, what happened was every one of the side covers, you'd go to paint them and they'd melt. And then you had to fix the melting. It looked like crazing, like cracked glass. And so over the years, well, I know Ducati mirrors melt. I know I've painted a lot of the European bike parts that some melt, some don't. That's all I can say is. And it's always good to just be prepared that you might have to prime it 2, 3, 4 times. You might have to do exactly what I'm doing here. And I don't want to belabor this point, but if you know it's coming, you'll allow for it. And we used to, in the time I worked on model airplanes, painting the spinners was always a challenge. You'd never have a predictable amount that you had to put on, and sometimes you could do it. Well, it looks like this is going to be maybe one more coat of primer, but I just wanted to show this in real time first. Now, if I can show this with the macro lens, I don't know if I can. Let's see if you can see that texture coming through. See, the macro lens is not a real high. This is not a $1,000 camera, that's for sure. That's how much I want, because now I want to put, when I get the whole part done, I want to put one more coat of primer on it. This is the time-consuming part of this job, is when you think it's done, with your hand in one of the thinnest rubber gloves you can find, I can find any, see, my hand will pick up these little spots because it's primer. And remember, anything flat, your eye doesn't pick up. That's why they paint things flat black. Now, there's also, in this part, there's a little ridge down here. I need to fold up the sandpaper. And again, I've done this whole thing with 600, so it's been very time-consuming. But I know in the final result, this is going to be a part that nobody expects is going to add something to the project, and it is. I know it is. And I know I like nothing better than when I'm cruising down the road to look down at some of the parts that I've refinished and say, hey, that's a pretty good job. That's not bad. Anyway, we're going to try to finish detailing this out and I'm going to get one more coat of primer on this. And I know it's probably boring to watch this, but this is one of the things. Painting plastic parts, even outside the world of motorcycling, when you go to paint something and it doesn't come out the way you want, it's frustrating. Well, plastic is probably the worst thing to try to get a nice finish on, if it's important that the finish never peel off. And so far that's looking pretty good, but this is the whole thing. Always do it with your finger. No matter what you sand, and see, I can feel as I'm saying it. By the way, it looks like that fire that they sent every fire truck in town down to the college right near my house. And Karen went down there and she said it was kind of a false alarm. One of the kids was maybe triggered off the alarm. They were smoking in a room or something. Who the hell knows? But we do have and thankfully, we do have a great fire department in town. They have put out a fire in our kitchen already for us. So we are very thankful to have them. And I see right here there's a spot. See, your eye doesn't pick this up. You have to really be meticulous, because as soon as you take this out in bright light, that little spot's going to show. And the fussier you can be, the sooner in a project you can become fussy, the better it is. It's like the sooner you can get the foundation of the house nice and straight, good chance the rest of the house will be straight. If the foundation's crooked, or if it's weak, I don't know what to say. I've done plenty of them, and then a year later said, why didn't I just take that extra hour, put one extra day into the project? And oh well. Anyway, it looks like we're going to be ready to shoot a final coat of primer, and I will get a new can for that, not a used up can, because I'd like that to go on really nice. Now, even as I'm tack ragging this down, and by the way, one of the things, and maybe I forgot to mention this from time to time, it's a good idea to know this though, anytime I prime something, when I'm all done with the prime, and I think I'm all set, I'm ready to tack rag it down, I'll hit it with a hairdryer, because primer is porous. It's more porous than paint is. So what happens is the moisture stays down in those little microscopic pockets that you think aren't there. And it's just to your advantage. I think it is anyway, and it seems to work for me. So I like to just hit it with a hairdryer. And let's see, we got any? Now, even now that I've done this, now I'm going to do the final. And this was a John Parthia trick to use the rubber glove. And I do feel a little spot there. And I can address that. But all of the spots I'm going to see more than anything else. There's a little spot right down there. Your hand is way better than your eye at picking up little flaws in the paint. Yeah, there's a couple little spots I got to do here. I'll re-tack rag it, and we're ready to prime. We're going to prime it with a new can now, not one of the old cans we're using up. We had about 5 or 6 of them we were just using the bottom of. The new can will spray a lot nicer of a coat. Of course, we're not going to, hopefully not going to sand it. Okay, we should be ready to paint, and it looks like it's going to be an excellent day for doing this. Now the idea here is to get on the thinnest coat of primer that'll cover everything, basically to seal it. We want to seal it more than anything else. I'll put this up by the heating vent because I know Karen has some things we have to do, family stuff. So while this is drying, we can be doing our errands. No, it's a good feeling to know that's up by the heating vent, and when we get back from doing our errands, we'll be ready to put some black on that. Actually, I'm trying to plan out the day here. And we'll be ready to do some black and some clear. So we try to take advantage of this day because after today we're supposed to have a few days of rain again. So what an unusual thing. And probably Treezilla guy is probably on vacation in the Bahamas. Who knows? Who knows? Life's mystery. But to me, the only reasonable way to do this kind of work and enjoy it, you have to do it as if time didn't exist. Because you start off a project like this and you think it's going to be, you know, a week away from being done, 2 weeks. Weeks go into months, but boy, when you're done and you take your final hand and rub it over that part, oh my God, that is really the ultimate reason for doing this. So it's good to know that everything's drying up by a heating vent while we do our family errands, which we always have an unlimited supply of. There's always things to do. And while we're here, that paint is drying. And what we try to do is 1 day a week, we try to make it we call it errand day. And I always try to get something painting drying, so it's paint drying day. So this is what I love about shopping. They have everything except the one that I want. 2,000 cans of paint and no primer sealer. Every possible kind of paint. Unbelievable. So I finally hit the mother lode of, it's always hard to find this stuff. They're always out of stock of it. I bought them out. And the only place around that had it was Pep Boys. Oh, they used to have it. I have it now. We can prime a trailer truck now. Hey, we're back from our jaunt. It looks like that's dried up by heating vent about 4 hours, and I think we can fire up the compressor and get some black paint on this. It has turned out to be an unbelievably good day to paint. So I'm going to try to get the clear on those parts, get the black on this. I did not expect it to be this good of a day. Now we got 2 coats of black on that, about 15-20 minutes apart. That's going to dry overnight. We'll let it dry out here in the garage. And at the end of the day, bring it in by the heating vent. But this will be just a wonderful day for painting. And so I'm going to use the day. I have a couple of parts to put clear on it, and I'll try to get that done right now. Then we have a brand new gallon. We probably can get a couple more parts out of this gallon, but the Gavco Clear, the 7701, that has been working pretty well for us, and I think it's very similar to the 5-star we used in the past also. Very easy product to use. Now we're actually at the point now where I've had to start a second bench for laying parts on, because the project, and there's more to come too. So what we usually do, we put into service our bench number 2. It starts getting crowded, and in the days that we've had multiple motorcycles here, it's really been an adventure just keeping track of the parts, and well, and that's part of what we try to do, is keep every day just a little bit different. And we should be able to get some clear on. Well, let's see, we got 2 parts here. We can get the clear on them. That should be no problem at all. And we got, oh, the big part, the nose part. We can get the nose part done, those 2 parts cleared up, and we'll be ready for graphics. See, I'm trying to plan this out. What's going to happen is, the next 2 or 3 days it's supposed to rain. So on a rainy day, I can lay out all the graphics. But on a day like today, I really want to paint anything I can paint. Anything I can get a jump on. And then when the paint is dry, and I have another crappy day, I'll have stuff to buff. And our bench is right under a heating vent, so this really works to our advantage. It really is, when I have the double benches, and this is how this plays out all the time. At some point in time, we even had 3 benches at one time when we were doing multiple motorcycles, but I think 2 benches is going to be plenty. Now it's drying up just beautiful out here in this temperature, and I feel real confident we're going to get the most out of this day. And every day so unpredictable, the weather-wise. If I get the clear on, I got 3-4 parts to get clear on. I may even get some clear on that. I'll let that dry up and do that as the last thing of the day. Get at least 1 coat of clear on there. So once that's dried to the touch, what I did, I brought it in, put it under the heating vent, because I really think I will be able to get some clear on that today. The trick here is to give this about 15-20 minutes to dry, even a half an hour in this cold weather. And you can see how nice that paint lays down in cold weather. It's actually to your advantage, to my advantage anyway, to let that dry. You see the reflection in the paint, which always is a good sign. And we'll give that about 20 minutes to a half an hour. Put a second coat on everything. I think that if the instrument panel, I may as well put it on the instrument panel too. We got nothing to lose right now. The whole idea is to take advantage of a day that no chance of rain and a little bit of sun, and we're up probably about 35-40 degrees here. It's really actually pretty nice to paint. Well, that looks about as good as I can expect. Now all this stuff is going to dry in the garage overnight tonight, because we have Miles coming over tonight. And so I have to clean up and get ready. It's a big night with our grandson. Well, I like to always look at the end of a day. Oh, I love to see my children. Oh, the hen is sitting on all the eggs here. Anyway, that's going to dry up overnight. That's even the dash. That panel, all the work we did on that panel, that is absolutely going to be add a nice touch to the motorcycle. Now, you would think the more shiny black I can get on this project, Well, because there's still a lot of flat black pieces and I don't know which ones I'm going to be able to work on. I'm going to try to leave the tank for later in the job. I know I have to take the forks off, paint the forks. I want the forks to be shiny black. And then, of course, I've been saving it for toward the end of the project, the gold wheels. And just like when we did the Suzuki wheels or the wheels for Glenn or any of the wheels, doing wheels is what I enjoy the most. Custom wheels. Nothing, I always say, nothing makes the bike more custom. A custom paint job, #1, and custom wheels, #2. Now it's funny how all these parts, every time I add a shiny part to our tables here, and maybe eventually we're going to need a third table. Luckily I have one. But I see the project moving forward as we're coming up on the end of month 2. And I know a lot of people think you just do this in a weekend or something. Not if you want this level of quality, you don't. But anyway, and I try to share what a real restoration like this is like. The good, the bad, the disappointing. Some of the things that, well, you got to do twice. And that dashboard was a lot of work, but when it's put together and on the bike, I'll be glad I did it. Anyway, hope you enjoyed the video. We have to get cleaned up and go get Miles. And all I can say is he is the love of our life. And thanks for watching. So what is this going to be? A gingerbread house, Miles? Hey, gingerbread house, gingerbread house. Are you going to eat that whole gingerbread house or are you going to share it with me? Yeah, you're going to share it with me? How about if I eat it?
No, I eat it all.
You're not going to share it? Okay, you're not riding my motorcycles this summer. How's it coming? Coming good?
Yeah.
Are you eating all the free samples off the cake here, Miles? Are you
dripping.
eating all these free samples?
They're dripping.
They're dripping. It's supposed to look like snow. Wow, you guys are really professionals. How delicious can that be? Wow. You're making me hungry. And you know what we got for supper? Pepperoni pizza. What boy? You're going to grow up so healthy. Pepperoni pizza and gingerbread houses.
Nah.